discover how to become addiction-free forever in today's episode with Meridee Hlokoff. And Mariti helped thousands of people recover from addictions with 95% success rate within a year. So Mariti, it's astounding what you've managed to achieve in such a short time frame for thousands of people. Tell us how entrepreneurs can become addiction-free forever. Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever, shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
So we use a method that is using ancient traditional medicine combined with, Eastern medicine combined with the upgraded modern use of cold laser therapy to create this incredible outcome. So what we're doing is we're using your own body's energies to make your body recover from for itself. And your body knows better than a doctor, than any person, because none of us are exactly the same. Our insides might be the same, but the way we react to those things are not. And so an example of that is you and I can take the same, say, antidepressant pill, and you could be throwing up and I could feel nothing. So it just really depends on the person's body. But when we instruct your body to do what it knows best to do, it typically reacts the same way with most people. So we're using cold laser therapy, which is a combination of low level radiation and LED light, which is the new red light therapy you're seeing everywhere. That's this big trend. It's been around for a long time. It's just now being recognized for all of its health benefits. So we're using a combination to create the outcome that we're looking for.
Thank you. Tell us about your journey with this Addiction Free Forever program. What got you interested in helping thousands of people to become addiction free?
So my goal is to help millions of people, let's be real. But the way that I got here was I was a smoker. My family were smokers. So of course, a lot of kids live what they learn or learn what they live. And I did just that. And I became a smoker when I was 11 years old. And it wasn't until I was, I got pregnant and I was able to quit no problem. Prior to that, I had used all the pills and all the things. And then I got divorced, and it was kind of like my middle finger to him was, watch me smoke again, which really is stupid. It's like me drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. And so I begged people on my Facebook and stuff like that, help me, I need to quit smoking. I don't want to do this anymore. I can feel how gross it is. And someone kind of posted on my story or on the comment, and I was able to go try this cold laser therapy for myself. The lady was very old, very unprofessional, and in her home. And I thought I would love to do this. My first time, it was like this magical experience, and I just kind of walked away and forgot to smoke. I started smoking 5 years later. And I went down, had another treatment, and ended up agreeing to purchase the training and the lasers. And that was kind of the start of this entire journey. It then turned into like 5 years of experimenting on people, because I was getting what most cold laser therapy companies get, which is 85% success rates. And I mean, that is a pretty great success rate, especially if you look at the pills, the gums, the patches. All of them have 17 to 20% success rates. So this is a significantly higher jump. That being said, when I was in school, I could accomplish an 85% without trying. I didn't have to put any effort into that. So I really decided at that point it was time to step up. So I started experimenting on people with their permission and documenting the results. I found different timing, different sequencing, different lasers worked. And when I found that I had 95% success rates with our smokers after a year, that's kind of when I was like, okay, I think I found what I need to do. And then I started working with heavier addictions like alcohol, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, porn, gambling, like you name it, we have been able to treat it. And then on top of that, I started getting friends with kids with autism, kids with ADHD, and they were like, do you think this would do anything? And the science behind what I'm doing is releasing endorphins in your brain. And when they're asking me about autism and ADHD, the key thing with ADHD is that their brain doesn't release enough dopamine, period. Their brain just doesn't do it properly. And so one of the main things that LaserQuit does is release dopamine. So I started experimenting on these people and their children with their permission and seeing just incredible results. So that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at now. And I started that in 2011 and have found these things that work. Now, 13 years later, I am expanding and trying to grow across Canada, into the United States, and eventually across the world.
Thank you. Tell us about this program of recovering from addictions. Is it a gradual program where, let's say, if someone smokes 30 cigarettes a day, do they start your program and then do they gradually start smoking 29, 28, 27? Or
No.
is it like an instant result where
Yes.
you lose the desire to smoke? And then it's about managing the actual craving after that with counseling and other therapies as well.
So what's cool about what I do is that we're actually tricking your brain into thinking it's already got the fix. So it's not just for smokers. It works the same for all addictions. And what it is when we use any kind of substance, what we're doing, our body is a really interesting thing, because what it does is it reacts to toxic things by giving you this weird sensation. Some people love this sensation, which is how come they become addicted. So smokers, we get this just quick peak, and it's usually 30 minutes that we peak our dopamine, and then it starts to come down. And as we come down, we want to feel that dopamine again, so we smoke again. It's the same symptoms with any addiction, whether that's a different timing of the way that the dopamine works. Like, for example, it's 20 minutes with alcohol before it starts to become a depressant, which is why people will typically have a drink about every 20 minutes. But basically, the idea is your brain releases endorphins in response to you giving it a toxin. That gives us a certain sensation. We go in and naturally release all of the endorphins at the same time, including the bliss molecule, which then makes it so that you basically just have no desire, definitely no craving. So I always tell people 85% of my clients will walk away and just forget to smoke. They'll forget to drink. They'll have zero desire. I often get text messages that are like, I don't know what devil you released out of my body, but I no longer want to use. And so we just see the day of. Most cold laser therapy companies will tell you we have 99% success rates. 99% of people will quit the day of treatment. It's long-term success. So most, again, of the cold laser therapy companies that are out there, they have a very different package offering than we do. And what they do is they give you, a very limited period of time, and then they base their success rate. So they say they have 84 to 95% success rates. That's a pretty big jump. And that's literally only over like an 8 to 16 week period. And that was one of the reasons I did the experiments that I did, because to me, success doesn't happen in a 3-month period. It happens over a long term. And so we go in, we give you your treatment immediately. If you're struggling, depending on how it all is set up, some treatments require, immediate treatment within a week. Other treatments are 6 to 8 weeks later. It just really depends on the treatment that you've chosen. But typically, the day of treatment, you're going to quit. If you're struggling, you come in for a follow-up appointment. If you're doing really great, you just come back when we require that. And that's where we get our success rate. So it does remove the desire in 85% of people, but 15% of people struggle just about no matter what treatment we're doing. Those 15%, those are the ones that need the coaching the most, but they all really need the coaching, because if we don't dig into why we're using, we're just going to end up using again later on. We haven't been given proper coping mechanisms to deal with life. And our coping mechanism is to release dopamine, which is go pick up a cigarette, go get a glass of wine, go drink some kind of alcohol, do a line of cocaine, that type of thing. And that type of thing is super unhealthy. Whereas we have some coaching methods and some tips and tools that people use to get through. So we give them new coping mechanisms so that they're able to continue in their life and don't go back.
Thank you. My partner used to be a smoker. And then, I told him that I don't date smokers. So he quit like instantly. But then I would say we've been dating like 14 years. And then I would say about 2 years ago, he started smoking again. And I was a little bit more relaxed about it. And I did tell him, what, you need to look at your smoking thing. But this time I wasn't so crucial.
Aggressive about it. Yeah.
Right. So he smokes from time to time. And what I noticed is that in certain environments, for example, when we have a party where other people are smoking, and then, especially
Or other people are drinking.
yeah, but I would say especially people who are smoking and they're like, "Oh, let me go outside for a smoke." He's like, "Oh yeah, let's go together and let's smoke together." So this like it's a networking thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the other reason that I found that he smokes is that, let's say if we have an argument, he uses it as a way to relax, to relax the anxiety. So I wonder whether once you do the laser treatment for addiction recovery, do you find that there is anything to kind of help with the anxiety that could be triggered from the lack of drugs?
So the anxiety is often because of the crash in dopamine. So when we stress out, when we have an argument with somebody, any of those things, our dopamine will crash. That's where we're looking for something. And that's why people will go for a cigarette, go for a beer, go for whatever it is that they're going for. One thing our treatment does is the side effects, contraindications of it are that we're giving you an antidepressant treatment, we're giving you an anti-anxiety treatment, we're giving you a generalized pain treatment, we are giving you a weight loss treatment. So there's all these side effects, to positive side effects to what we're doing to you. And the reason that it works so well is because it's releasing so many endorphins. Now, that being said, we do teach your brain how to do this over the long term, but the thing that needs to be done in that moment is he's an addict. His addiction is smoking. And we will provide, I always say, rationalization is the art of making excuses. Okay. So your partner is rationalizing that you have stressed him out or the situation has stressed him out, and his only way to go deal with it is to have a cigarette. No, he needs new coping mechanisms to learn how to work through that without a cigarette, because the cigarette is not even a coping mechanism. It's a mask. It covers up your feelings and pushes them down because dopamine is released and now it doesn't matter to me. So there's a lot of things that are intertwined with it, which is why we provide coaching as well. We offer packages without coaching because certain people just don't want to heal their trauma. Other people really, really do. So we offer different packages that include different things. But on the basic side of it, even if you don't want to dig into the trauma, we're going to give you new tools that will allow you to work through those moments a different way.
Thank you. How long lasting is this feeling of, the dopamine and the endorphins? How long lasting do you feel that? Is it that every person is kind of different, or how do you kind of continuously release the dopamine after the treatment is over?
So the way that the treatment has worked, working with your body's energies, over the next 8 weeks, your endorphins climb. And then the 8 weeks after that, your endorphins will crash. And that's a lot of the reason that we do the treatments the way that we do them. There's some trade secrets in there that I can't give you, but there's a certain way that we have made it so that there's a method to making it so that your brain is eventually conditioned to continue to release these endorphins, if not maintain them.
Thank you. What I've found in the past from having, let's say, toxic habits is that the best way to kind of like release the toxic habits is to replace them with something better. Do you recommend that they integrate like a substitute that also makes them feel good, that kind of replaces the you can say the feel good effect that the drug was offering in the first place?
So what you're referring to in the addiction world, we call it dry drunking. Okay. So what that is it is an alcoholic, and it's just a generalized term that we use, but any drug addict, any smoker, anything, we call it dry drunking because what it is you are replacing your addiction with another. So you replace, say, drinking with food, which is something I see a lot of, or smoking with food. I don't like to replace one habit with another, because when we replace one bad habit, even if it's a good one, you'll turn a good habit like the gym into a bad addiction, and you'll overuse it, you'll abuse it, and stuff like that. So that's why I don't like to replace one bad habit with another habit at all, because you're just trading one addiction for another. That's why I like to help you heal the trauma beneath it. So no, I like to see people stop cold turkey. I don't want to see you, using any kind of vape. I don't want to see you using any kind of substance to replace what you were doing. Let's let your brain recover. Let me teach your brain how to recover. Through this whole process, I'm actually going to keep your brain at a place that it needs to be for you to recover. And then when people call me in or text me and say, like I've gone to eating, okay, let's talk about what's happening, because you're just replacing one habit with another. So the best way, there's a great book called Atomic Habits, and he talks about creating new habits. He talks about habit stacking, and he talks about ways to break old habits or completely remove them. You don't have to put something in place of an old habit, but you can, if you're going to make it a good one. That being said, like I said, I've seen a ton of, smokers who then go to the gym, but they're going to the gym for 3 and 4 hours a day. That's not beneficial to you. You're gaining nothing from doing that. In fact, you're wasting. And if you're not compensating by eating enough foods, you're not seeing the results you're looking for, all of the things. So you're going to be let down, and then you're going to end up back where you were. So it's a cycle that we just end up staying in, and not one I recommend.
Thank you. Do narcissists end up get healed of their sex addiction, for example, with your program?
So I'm not going to say that narcissists, where I'll say that people can, lots of people, because there's tons of people who are not narcissists that are addicted to porn or sex. I will tell you the hardest addictions to stop are our phone, sex, and food, because we still need to use them in moderation in order to live in the world that we live in. So those 3 are the 3 hardest ones to change. But if you're willing to do the deep internal work that goes with it, you're going to see the results you're looking for. For example, my sister says that she was a sex addict. And when things would get hard, she'd just be like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. And her husband, her newest partner, he literally was like, whoa, I'm not touching you. We need to figure out what's going on so that we can dig into what's happening so you can heal whatever it is. Because every other person was like, yeah, let's do it. It allowed her to release endorphins and mask what she was going through. So if you can consciously do these things, but those 3, you have to be willing to do the deep internal work. Otherwise, you're just going to continue with the behaviors.
Thank you. What else would you like entrepreneurs to know around becoming addiction-free forever?
So one of the things I will tell you as an entrepreneur is, if you have employees who are addicted to all of these different things, you are not getting a good version of them. They are not showing up at their best potential, all of the things. I see they're sick more often. I see that they take more breaks. I think I had done a study a while ago about how many more hours you end up losing from a smoker or a drinker based on the fact that they are these things versus the small percentage of people who don't use at all. They're less sick, they take less breaks, and there's so many hours that are wasted. So if you were to support your team in becoming unaddicted, becoming healthy, along with yourself, you're going to end up seeing way better results in your business. Plus, you have a group of people who are keeping each other accountable.
Thank you. I'm addicted to coffee. I find that coffee addicts don't replace their coffee addiction with tea. Do they simply end up stopping coffee altogether immediately? And then what do they drink?
Interesting. So we don't often see a lot of people. I shouldn't say that. I don't see somebody who comes in and says, I'm addicted to coffee and I want to stop. That's not the basis that they'll come into. They'll come in and say, I need to quit smoking and I drink too much coffee. Or I need to quit smoke, or I want to stop eating crappy foods. And I also drink a liter of pop a day. I see that a lot. But with the treatments that we're giving them for what they're working on already, because it's such a great treatment for all addictions, I'll see people come in and just completely stop. So they won't replace it with pop. They'll just stop drinking coffee altogether. They won't replace their pop with anything except maybe water or juice. And again, these are, they reach out and we talk about the benefits, because juice has a lot of sugar in it. So you need to be careful about that too. And so there's all these different pieces that intertwine that we have to have conversations about. But when it comes to them stopping these addictions like coffee, tea, those types of things, it is often a side effect of them stopping smoking and other things like that.
Thank you. Are there any particular routines that you recommend entrepreneurs take to become addiction-free forever?
Well, the first thing I would tell you is not even a routine, but make you a priority. Make you the most important piece of everything, because if we lead by example, we're going to get better results. Also, I find that if we start our morning focused entirely on ourselves, don't pick up your phone, because that was huge. They say that almost every entrepreneur picks up their phone as soon as they get out of bed. I stopped doing that, and it was amazing the shift I had, because I no longer felt like if I get up and I start on my phone, I immediately feel behind the ball. I immediately feel like I'm slacking. I have so much to catch up on. Whereas if I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, I get myself to the gym, and then say I'm walking on the treadmill, I've now had, 30 to 45 minutes with no phone, no nothing. And now I have that time and space to have a look, and I'm conscious. I've had time to wake up. I'm no longer in that sleepy place thinking, oh my God, I'm already behind. And then I'm able to move forward and I don't feel as overwhelmed.
Thank you. What are your 10 commandments for becoming addiction free forever?
It's probably going to be like a repeating of do the work on yourself. Do the work on yourself, do the work on yourself. And the thing is it doesn't just end. That's the hard part about this whole thing. It doesn't come to an end of, oh, well, I've done all this work on myself for the last year and now I'm good. I never have to do any work again. It's going to be a constant going back and forth, going over and over, doing the healing every time something surfaces. Because if you start at 30 years old, there's 365 days in a year. You have 365 days times 30 years times how many hours you were awake and how many moments of trauma you had in those hours. There are so many moments to heal. You're just never going to stop. So my 10 commandments will always be do the work, 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 do the work. And then you're going to see the results that you want.
Thank you. For the entrepreneurs that you work with that are working on their addictions, do you not teach them any like positive habits to replace these negative habits that they have? Is it that you that's not part of the program at all?
No, it is. It is but we're not replacing the habits. We're creating new routines. So if they stay in old routines and they take every step that they took before, when they get to the place where the addiction fit, now there's just a void. There's an emptiness. And now that's where they want to go back to because they don't know what to do with that void. So we do work with them on changing all the habits, but it's not replacing. It's changing. Let's consciously choose how we're going to move through this world. For me, for example, I didn't even realize how addicted I was to social media and how much time I had spent on there. Now I run 2 businesses, one of them that has 10 locations, from my phone. And my screen time is less than the average person's screen time. And I'm running 2 businesses from it. So my screen time on my phone averages between 3 and 4 hours a day. But the reason for that is I am running 2 businesses and I'm managing 14 staff within that. And then on top of that, we have licensing partners, which is the entrepreneurs that we work with. And they partner with us and offer our services to their clients. So I'm working with them as well. And I'm able to do that in a short period of time. So what I've taught people and what I teach people is people will tell me all the time, I just don't have time. Okay, so let's look at your screen time, because what it is you don't have your priorities straight. You have chosen to, sit and scroll social media to go mindless instead of taking the time to create something that works. And that's why I say, like, in the morning, don't pick up your phone, start there. I actually had to move the apps on my phone because I run my businesses from social media as well. I have to use it. So I actually would move the apps to a different place. I turned off all notifications unless it's business related. And then I noticed at random times I'd pick up my phone and end up on some strange app. And I'd be like, why am I? Oh, because a new app had replaced where my social media was. So the habit was still there of me reaching for my phone, tapping that spot. But now I had to become conscious when I was actually going to go use my social media. So I teach people how to do these things in steps. And it is included in a lot of their things. A lot of the entrepreneurs that we're working with are, high level people who have all these, businesses. They run car dealerships and all these things, but they're managing 80 plus people. Some people are managing 5, some people are managing 1, some aren't doing it at all. Running a business is a stressful thing. And I mean, life is a stressful thing, but people who are running businesses will really find that they need to exit, they need to zero out, they need to disappear from it just for a minute. And so on a Friday, Saturday, both nights, they're just going to do a couple lines of cocaine. It's not a big deal. And then before they know it, they're using on a Tuesday and a Thursday and a Friday and a Saturday. And then before they know it, it's every day, all night. And then before they know it, they're starting to use in the middle of the day. So we help people like that get themselves back on track. And then we teach you coping mechanisms for when the 80 people that work for you are blowing your mind and it has created so much struggle and stress that you want to go back to that addiction. So we teach you and we heal the inner stuff, as well as we give you treatments that do the outer stuff as well. And now one of the things that's really interesting about it is when we try to recover from any kind of addiction, especially the heavier substances, we see that it takes 14 to 18 months for their brain chemicals to recover. And they get sober and then they're supposed to work through, their traumas and all the things while their brain chemicals are crashed. And I don't know if you've ever been depressed, but when I was depressed, everything was so much worse than it really was because I didn't have the capacity to deal with it. So now these people are depressed because their brain chemicals are not normal. They're well below normal and it takes that time to recover. And they're supposed to deal with these traumas. So now these traumas are 10 times worse or feel 10 times worse. And we're supposed to work through those to stay sober, which is how come people do not make it a year. But if we are able to do what we do, and why we have 95% success rates and 98% success rates with these people long term, is because we're letting their brain chemicals get to a normal level and then heighten slowly as we continue to work with them so that they're able to feel like they are at a normal place, which prevents them from going back to get to that normal place.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
You guys can find us on any social media. Look up LaserQuit, laserquittherapy.ca, laserquit.net. We are wherever you want to find us. And then on our website, you can also send us an email if you're interested in working with us or partnering with us.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health change makers to live your healthiest life ever.